meeting of the Alabama Ethics Commission. You need us to cut something on?
Your names are just switched up there.
Okay. Sometimes I'd rather not have it, I'd rather leave it like it is. Depending upon what the issue might be. But I'm Jerry Fielding, the chairman of the Alabama Ethics Commission, and I want to welcome everybody here today. At this time, I'd like to introduce our commission. In addition to myself, the members of our commission are Dr. Stuart Tanksley to my right from Montgomery, Mr. Butch Ellis from Columbiana is not here today. Judge Charles Price is to my left, and he's from Montgomery, Alabama, retired circuit judge, presiding circuit judge. And to my far right is Miss Beverly Brady, an attorney from Auburn, Alabama. Our procedure today will be as follows. We will hear and vote on advisory opinions. Proponents and opponents, if they wish to speak, will be limited to 15 minutes for each side. Is there anyone here that would want to speak to any of the opinions that are on the agenda for today? If you do want to speak, I'd like for you to come up and sign in at the table here, and so we can have a record of that. If you do have a cell phone or a pager on you at this time, if you would please turn that off or please put it on the vibrate mode. We will now move into our new business items, and I'll look to our general counsel, Mr. Hugh Evans, to present the first advisory opinion. Please, sir.
Mr. Chairman, apparently there's been some problems with the audio relay of this, so I'm going to remain seated so I can, the mic can pick it up. The first request comes from Africa Parchman, who's the general counsel for Birmingham City Schools. She has a board member, Lord Watson, who is not seeking re-election to that seat. He has some excess campaign funds, and he would like to donate them to a 501c3 organization called the Black Leaf Foundation. He is not compensated in any way. He has no family members that benefit from this donation. The opinion is drafted states that a public official may donate excess campaign money to an organization to which a federal income tax deduction is permitted or any other charitable, educational, or illegal mercenary cause. It points out that campaign funds may not be converted to personal use, and that public officials cannot donate excess campaign funds in a manner that would provide a personal gain to themselves, a member of their family, or a business with which they are associated. Under the facts that we have, the opinion states that an elected member of the Birmingham Board of Education may donate the remaining funds in his campaign account to the Black Leaf Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit organization where he is not a board member or otherwise compensated by the nonprofit, nor are any family members employed by or otherwise compensated by the nonprofit.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
Well, what is the Black, first of all, what is the Black Leaf Foundation? What does it do?
Judge, the Black Leaf Foundation, it's multi-tiered. It's designed to improve the economic and communal vitality of disadvantaged individuals and families within the city of Birmingham.
Okay.
It's my 501c3.
Yes.
Yeah, my question is, it's okay to do these things, it's clear. The point is, this is an advisory opinion. It seemed like it would have been an easy, informal opinion to give. So I guess the clear distinction here being that this needs to be determined to be on a case-by-case basis from the administration.
I think what it comes out of is that in the self-generated FCPA opinion we gave, that we made note of the fact that contributions to a 501c3 are provided for as an acceptable area to put up the campaign funds as long as there's not a use of personal gain in conflict with the Ethics Act. I think that's going to generate those kind of questions.
That's right, so a case-by-case basis. Not a quick.
Doctor moves to approve AO 217-02. Is that right? Yeah, second.
I second.
Okay. Any other discussion, ladies and gentlemen? All in favor of approving AO 217-02, please say aye. Aye. I believe that would be 4 ayes, no nays. The next, matter on the agenda today, you want to discuss that, Mr. Hugh? Or Mr. Secretary? Okay.
The advisory opinion 2017-03 was brought to us by the Personnel Board, the State Personnel Board. They had created a classification in the state system of a retired state employee. And they had questions about whether or not the revolving door applied to these employees with regard to whether or not they're department heads or held positions of authority. And there was some disagreement in the community about if there was a distinction between public officials and public employees with regard to the revolving door going back into service in 2 years. So we answered those questions and cleared up, I think, with not necessarily some contradiction, but just a little bit of murkiness in our 45 revolving door opinions regarding the position of authority. So public employees are included in the revolving door if they held a position of authority. And so far as the classification of state service, there are classified service, unclassified service, and exempt employees. Because of the use of the word appointed in the merit system appointments, there was some question about whether or not those people appointed to the state positions were public officials. We had cleared that up, and they are not public officials because they were hired off the register. They weren't elected, they weren't appointed by a governmental agency or government board, so they are not public officials with regard to the revolving door. As always, public employees and public officials that were department heads, division chiefs, etc., are prohibited from going back into service at the same agency for a period of 2 years. And if they held a position of authority, both public officials and public employees are prohibited. What we've done is kind of give a little bit more of a shorter guideline in the enumerated points on page 6 with regard to what a position of authority is. If they have firing authority or the ability to influence hiring and firing decisions, the authority to make recommendations regarding hiring and firing, purchasing or contracting authority, or the ability to influence those decisions, authority to make decisions regarding grants and awards, and whether or not the individual was the employer's designated agent with the ability to accomplish any of those enumerated tasks. So if you're an assistant principal, the principal goes, take the lead, and you move into that position, then that would make you in a position of authority for these purposes. So then we decided that, it's generally a case-by-case basis decision making, but these are 5 guidelines that someone can use in order to determine whether they held a position of authority for state.
And where we really started seeing some problems with this was really in the informal opinion process. We had an awful lot of requests regarding revolving door. And so what I wanted to avoid was our being in a position that we were simply making arbitrary or ad hoc decisions about everybody. And because this issue has been talked about for so long, there was a large body of advisory opinions. And what we did was, as I told you, is just distilled the factors that commissions historically have gone back to and summarized those into these 5 factors to look at. It's just to make it easier to apply for us and for those who are out there.
So what is the opinion, what is your conclusion?
Our conclusion is that if you are a public employee or a public official and held a position of authority, you are not permitted to go back into service at your previous state agency for a period of 2 years.
That's right. And the specific question was whether 13B applied only to public officials or if it applied to public officials and public employees. That's the specific question that was answered. Everything else is in relation to that basic question.
Ms. Graham, this seemed to help answer your quandary that you may have had over there at First Nations.
Yes, it does, and also not just for the state personnel, but for the other agencies.
Okay. That's what we hope to do, is to try to make things work under the law, and I know there's a good bit back and forth, and that's what we like to see. And so when you come down here, you don't have to get up and start pleading your case. That's always positive. And I appreciate the staff and the attorneys' involvement here. And Cynthia, I know you're probably working with this one and trying to make it work good. And you put your last name into the record, so
Yes, sir. Ralston,
Oh.
Raulston.
as these people are watching and listening, they want to make sure they get your name well. Because,
My phone will be ringing.
yeah, so they're calling you and still these folks up here. All right, Doc.
I thank you for making this a case-by-case basis. And like the situation with a former agency head who was the de facto agency head, and we allowed the individual to do something, we came back later and amended it so that that individual's position later, somebody in that position, would be restricted by the revolving door. In other words, very important, I think the message we need to get across, the important message is, if you have influence, you can't rig the system so that you walk out the door and take advantage of the position you had because you knew how the system was. You designed the system to be worked for you when you got out. That is abusing the public trust. I can't say it any more firmly. That is abusing the public trust of people who are trying to do that, who would be trying to do that. And I would just encourage people that this commission firmly say to anybody who is in any position of public trust not to abuse it for simple selfish reasons.
I'll just say amen, brother.
I did, thought I'd say my mic off that one.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve AO 217-03?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Beverly approved, made the motion, and Doc seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0. Go ahead with the next, Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, the next opinion comes from Judge Laura Petro, the circuit judge in Jefferson County. This is very similar to the Africa Parchment opinion. Judge Petro has some excess campaign funds she would like to donate to the YWCA, which is also a 501c3. The only difference here is Judge Petro is a board member for the YWCA. She's not compensated for that service. She has some family members that are compensated for that service.
You said she has no family members that are compensated.
Yes, sir. Nobody for family benefits from this. The opinion is drafted, states that an elected official may donate excess campaign funds to a 501c3 charitable organization on whose board of directors they serve when the position is non-compensated and neither the public official nor their family members nor any other business with which they are associated receives any personal gain from either the donation or the 501c3.
This one, as I told you, is one of those opinions that by virtue of her board service, that makes it a business she's associated with, under the definitions of the code. What this opinion does is recognize that there are fact situations, again, on a case-by-case basis, where the corruption principles underlying the acts that they don't come into play. And so this is one of those situations where there is just not any evidence, given what's been given to us, of any corruption that they acted correctly.
You certainly no personal gain to the giver in this case.
That's right. Now, the opinion is also very closely tailored to the facts that were given, although we have every reason to believe that the facts are correct. Because of the language of the code, the opinion is drafted pretty closely. I think our attorneys here in this week in this issue may not be.
I think we're talking about $700+
$750.
I think that the lawyers should have given her more money for her campaign in Jefferson County last time, even though she did have opposition. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. Any other questions relative to this, gentleman?
Once again, it's a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say, because 501c can be set up for a good purpose, and of course, you have a 501c for a bad purpose from my perspective. So I join what Dr. Texas has stated about this is on a case-by-case basis. So I move that we approve the,
And a second.
I think we have.
Mr. White, let's say something.
one correction, Judge. We represent the YWCA, just please vote for it. So there is a.
I understand. I'm glad you're doing something worthwhile for a change. Thank you very much. All right, we have a motion and we need a second.
I'll second
Any other discussion? All in favor of approving AO 217-04, please say aye. None opposed, passes 4-0. Next, opinion, if you move into that, is this here, Mr. Chief?
Mr. Chairman, the next opinion comes from the Honorable Tom Whiteley, member of the Alabama Senate. He asked two questions. His first question, they're both under the Fair Campaign Practices Act. First question is, may an elected official loan personal funds to his or her campaign without respect to the 1-year/legislative session blackout timing restrictions under 17-5-7G2. Now, we've recently addressed this issue, and as y'all recall, the Fair Campaign Practices Act sets out when individuals can make loans to their campaign account. The law defines candidates, public officials, and principal campaign committees separately. They're all separately defined terms that are to be applied separately. The provision that Senator Whiteley is talking about allows candidates to contribute, to make loans to their campaign contribution outside the 1-year, 120-day window. The law specific in most every provision, it has those three terms together: candidate, public official, principal campaign committee, except in this application it says only a candidate may make a loan outside the window to their campaign account. The opinion goes on to state that the individual can only have one principal campaign account for one office. In other words, if you're a member of the legislature and you decide you want to run for governor, you can't make a loan to your principal campaign committee that you established for the legislative seat in an effort to run for governor. You have to start create a new principal campaign committee. The opinion as drafted states that an individual who has taken the action under the FCPA to become a candidate may make a loan to the principal campaign committee outside the 1-year, 120-day window. However, this exception applies only to candidates and does not otherwise apply to public officials unless they can factually establish that they are candidates. To become a candidate, as you know, they have to either raise $1,000 towards their candidacy or expend funds in the amount of $1,000. So before an individual is a candidate, they have to take one of those actions, then they can loan money to the PCC outside the window. The opinion goes on to state that the FCPA defines the terms candidate, public official, and principal campaign committee separately. They therefore each carry a particular definition in application and are not to be used interchangeably. An individual holding one office who is termed out from seeking re-election to that office or who seeks election to another office may not loan money to their existing principal campaign committee, but must establish a new and separate principal campaign committee for the new office sought. Now, the opinion also discusses how easy it is to start a principal campaign committee. You can do it online by filling out a very simple form. Senator Whiteley has asked another question. Does the commission believe that the FCPA restricts an elected official's ability to use campaign funds to promote the elected official and his or her service in between elections? Because this question was so broad, we back, I don't know, roughly a year ago, we drafted a self-generated opinion that set out the basics, what are proper expenditures, what are not proper expenditures. As to answer the question number 2, because it is such a broad question, we have referred Senator Whiteley back to opinion 2016-23 and also told him we'll be glad to answer more specific questions, but it's just difficult with that broad language.
Okay. It seems like this, opinion will, be acted upon real soon, and, because of the, elections coming up this year, so hopefully we're gonna be able to lend some guidance to these folks that want to raise money. All right, go ahead.
On the first point, we did not we did not more clearly define the rules of FCPA, did we? That all we did was say, hey, look, for whatever reason, I'm sorry you missed the rules, but here they are again. We did not, in this case, with this AO, more clarify a position, correct?
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, let me say this, what we did was said the language of the statute says this.
That's right.
The language says what it says.
Right.
In terms of rules, I think this is the first time we have addressed this. There are some Attorney General's opinions that hint at this answer, and that goes back to about 1990. And we cited those in the final draft of the opinion.
Yes.
So it's the right answer, but when it comes from the code, it's not a stretch from the language of the code, it's just strictly applying the language of the code.
Well, Tom, over the last couple of years since you've been here, I just want to commend you on the heroic work that some people are taking pot shots at, but I think this is another example of you trying not only to exemplify what we want you to do on the Ethics Commission, which is to go out and help people in the public employees and public officials to more clearly understand the boundaries. This is not a gotcha game that we seek to play, as you well know and have been instructed since you arrived here, and you've done an exemplary job, and this is another example of it. The second question I have is, or the second question that he had, I want to clarify a case that was a question that was brought before us last year, where a public official wanted to seriously sought to allow his campaign funds to be directed to a state agency so that he could have road signs with his name up. We thank the Lord said no, and I want to make sure that anybody that thinks like that understands that is way outside the bounds of right and propriety, of being right and being within propriety.
Yeah, let me say that I think that what's correct to say about that is that I think that opinion was brought up before the commission. I don't know that we officially said that. And I want folks who are affected by that to know that they can ask any question. I don't want anybody to be afraid to ask a question about whether something is allowed. But I think that the guidelines in the FCPA are pretty clear, and I think that our self-generated opinion gives even further guidance on that. But these cases are inevitably going to arise where they've got specific requests about whether something is an allowable use of excess campaign funds, and they should ask those questions. That's the point of this, of not answering that second question, is we want them to specifically ask.
Right, and my point in saying what I just said is to help people understand. We're up here to help you understand what the boundaries are. But if you think that this Ethics Commission should consider that to be appropriate, you're way out of bounds. You need to discuss a lot more with this, it sounds like, than that.
Okay.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, one thing I think is important to also point out, this opinion is consistent with the advice the Secretary of State's office has given over the years. So it's not new rules.
I think it sound reasonable, sound law.
Well, and also, just don't lose sight of the fact that on the FCPA issues, both the Ethics Act and the FCPA direct us to coordinate with the Secretary of State on the implementation of this, so that's why we coordinate within that issue, certainly with this opinion.
Well, I don't think a lot of explanation needed. I mean, 15.5.7B2 is self-explanatory. It's very clear what you can do and cannot do.
Yes.
Right? And the second part, I think the explanation is quite wrong. So,
I move to accept that.
second.
The motion to approve has been made by the doctor and seconded by the judge. All in favor of approving this A 0217-05, say aye.
Yeah.
Judge, I have to abstain from that case.
Okay. There'll be 3 ayes and 1 abstention. And I understand what you
Thank you, and I'm happy to put on the record if I need to.
No, I know there's a kinship.
5 generations ago, which I don't think meets anybody's standard, but out of an abundance of caution, I want to make sure that I'm doing everything as properly as we ask for others to do.
Sounds good, sounds good. Okay, Mr. Director, is there any other business for us to consider? Wait, before we do that, I want Miss Julie to stand up. Stand up.
She wasn't expecting that.
31 years of dedicated service to state of Alabama, not all of it here at the Ethics Commission, but you like you still got your mind and everything. We appreciate, I don't know, I think most of us know that you are going to be retired and probably won't be at our next board meeting. We just want to tell you thank you. You've been a great help to me, and I know that all the members on this commission, we appreciate it very much, your service. Have a good retirement.
And a delight to deal with.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn by the judge. I need a second. Beverly, you want to do that one?
Sure.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Passes unanimously. And our next meeting before we leave here is June the 7th, 2017 at 9:30 a.m. That's our regular scheduled meeting day. Okay.